Good morning.
Good morning.
Amen. I read on the internet the other day a poll question that was asked to senior citizens about what is their greatest regret in life. What is their greatest regret in life? So, what do you think the greatest regret of senior citizens is in their life? If they could go back and do something over, what do you think it is that they would do over again? What?
Save money.
Save money. That was not the number one answer. Although I'm sure many wish they did. Anybody else want to venture a guess what's the number one regret of senior citizens? That they wish they did different? What? Spend more time with their grandkids? The biggest regret that they wish they could do over is they wish they didn't worry as much.
Oh.
I guess you worry about money and grandkids and balancing your work and your family. But the biggest regret of senior citizens, if they had to look back at their whole life, is that they wish they didn't worry so much. Now, I'm sure they don't poll people when they're on their deathbed, but I would venture to say that if they did, the greatest regret that many people would have on their deathbed is that they didn't spend more time thinking about their faith. I mean, at this moment in my life, that's not my biggest regret. I've got lots of things going on in my life, and lots of regrets on lots of subjects. But when all those things are gone, when hopefully I'm at a ripe old age and I'm retired, and hopefully my son is grown and gone and has kids of his own, in that last moment, I would think I would have one of two thoughts. Either regret that I didn't spend more time worrying about my faith and growing in my faith, or joy that I did do those things. Jesus said in the gospel lesson today, if anyone wants to come after me, let him deny himself, take up his cross, and follow. He didn't say if anyone wants to come after me, let him get rich, or let him get famous, or even let him have excessive happiness. He said the one that wants to follow has to deny himself and maybe his want for excessive happiness and take up the cross and follow. Now, taking up the cross is not an easy proposition. The Lord took up his cross, and that was an instrument of pain, an instrument of torture. And he took the cross and he embraced the cross, and through his cross he conquered death and he opened a path to us to everlasting life. If we take up the cross of Christ, if you take up the cross of Christ, it's not an easy proposition. Just because you take up the cross of Christ doesn't mean that life becomes easy. Many times it becomes harder. And why does it become harder? Because the devil, who's very much at work in our world, is going after the people who are carrying their crosses. He's not going after the people who have already put their crosses down. There's no work for him to do with those people. He's going after the people who are trying to take up the cross and they're trying to follow. I don't know how many people here watched Miss America last Sunday. I don't normally watch the Miss America pageant, but I watched with interest last Sunday because Miss America this year happens to be a Greek Orthodox Christian, who I happen to know, actually. A young lady that was part of our summer camp program about 4 years ago became Miss Georgia, and last Sunday became Miss America. And as I was watching the pageant, I was sort of astonished, very disappointed in some of the questions that the Miss America candidates were asked. And I thought, my gosh, if anybody here stands up with any kind of value at all, they're going to be just dismissed. Because there's all kinds of causes in the world, and people take up these causes as if they are some kind of a religion in themselves. Jesus does not say take up the cause, he says take up the cross. Now, the other day, on the prayer team, I had a message, I think it was Thursday, about taking up the cross versus taking up the cause. And somebody wrote a message to me and says, your writing makes me sick, Father. that you don't like causes like feeding the poor. And I, of course, don't like reading stuff like that at 6 o'clock in the morning. Nowhere have I ever said don't take up the cause of helping somebody. Feeding the poor is a great thing. I'm so glad that we had a large group of people yesterday go and feed the poor, the community outreach event that we do once a month. That's a wonderful thing. But that is not the be-all and end-all. If the cause you have is feeding the poor, or being a good driver, or donating to charity, those are all good things. But the number one thing we do is carry the cross of Christ, and then all these causes fall under the umbrella of Christianity. They're not Christianity in itself. And someone said to me one time, if you do good things, and you only do good in order to do good, then the beneficiary of your good is you, which makes the good selfish thing. We have to do the good for God. We have to carry a cause underneath the umbrella of carrying the cross. That's how it works. So deny ourselves, take up the cross, and follow. Another thing to think of as you are going through your life this week, we read in the gospel lesson, for what does it profit a man to gain the whole world and forfeit his soul? I know in English it says, and forfeit his life, but that's actually the wrong translation, which is why I read the gospel in Greek this morning. When there's an egregious error in the English, then I read it in Greek and English, because it says, what does it profit a man to gain the whole world and forfeit his psiche, his soul, not his zoe? You can gain the whole world and mess up your whole life, and you were messed up for 70 or 80 years. But if you mess up your soul, then you're messed up for eternity. It doesn't gain us anything to gain the whole world and forfeit our soul. What can we give in return for our soul? Nothing. So this week, as a practical matter, as you're going through your life and you're making your decisions, make your decisions on this metric. Is what I'm doing good for my soul? Is what I'm doing good for my soul? Now, if you sit down today and you watch a football game, and you're resting, and you're with friends, and you're laughing, that's good for your soul. Enjoy your afternoon. You did something good for your soul today. You came and you worshiped God. So go have a restful afternoon and enjoy entertainment. But if you go and you're entertained, and while you're being entertained, you're cursing, and you're angry that your team lost and you smashed the TV set, and you lose a friendship over that, that's not good for your soul. It's not good for anything. It's a bad decision, so don't make it. But we make many decisions every day that are meaningless. Like have chicken or the burger at the restaurant. That does not affect your soul at all. But many decisions you make, they do affect your soul. So use that as the metric in making your important decisions this week. Is it good for my soul or is it not? In a moment, we're going to have a procession, which is why I'm doing the sermon before. And the procession is done as we commemorate the feast day of the Holy Cross. September 14th through September 21st is the feast day of the exaltation of the Holy Cross. It commemorates a historic event, St. Helen finding the precious cross of Christ in the year 325. And so we do a procession on the 14th of September, which is the day that this happened, and in most communities on the Sunday following, since many people are not able to come on the feast day. So we're going to do this procession of the Holy Cross, and as we're doing it, and we'll kneel, and as the cross passes over your head, think about the crosses that you're carrying in your life, think about the decisions you have to make in your life, and ask God for His guiding hand on those decisions and on those crosses that you're carrying, on the crosses that we're all carrying. As I do every time, this procession is beautiful. The tray of flowers, and I thank Angie and Jeannie and all the ladies that decorated that, is beautiful. And I ask that we put all the flowers that we have on the tray. When I was a child, the priest used to put 100 flowers on the tray, and then you'd have baskets of flowers around the table, and would give most of the people would give flowers from one of the baskets, and everyone said, I don't want those, I want the one for the tray. So when I became a priest, my parents said, you're not going to do that tradition where you put a few flowers on the tray and the rest of the baskets. You're going to put all the flowers on the tray, right? Because that's what all the people want. And I said, of course, I never liked that tradition. So when I first got here, we put 100 flowers on the tray, because that's about how many people we had in the church. Now we have up to about 350 flowers, which is good. Everyone will get one off the tray. But that makes the tray very heavy. And that's a sign of progress. But there's also a physical manifestation to that, and a real manifestation to that, which is that the ministry is very difficult because there are many more of you than there used to be. So as I'm carrying the tray, please pray for me. Please pray for the priests in this country that are carrying the tray of the priesthood. Please do your part so that our church can continue to grow and to improve. What a beautiful thing. This morning we started the liturgy and this whole side is full of the choir. And when the choir used to be, a handful of people, and now we're spilling over to an extra section, that's a wonderful thing. There are lots of wonderful things that are going on in our community now, and I'm so thankful that you are part of them, and I'm thankful to be the priest and be presiding over them. The last comment about this tray is that this journey of carrying the cross, that represents not only the journey of the priesthood, but it represents your life and my life. There are times we carry the cross of Christ and it feels like it's going to crush us. If I'm going to stand for the cause of Christ, many times I feel, and maybe you feel, that you're going to be nailed to the cross with Christ. So when that gets difficult and it gets heavy, you just keep going. You move forward. You ask God for His help and His strength, so that you can continue to carry the cross through this life and into everlasting life. Please.